to what it really comes down to. So, first off, if you're going to lose your visceral fat, step number one, okay, here we go. You have to control your cortisol. I've been talking about cortisol all week. And so in order for you to be successful in the journey here to get rid of your belly fat, cortisol has to come under control because, as I mentioned yesterday, it is the hormone responsible for dumping fat into your belly. So if that thing is running out of whack, you're going to have belly fat. Step number one, control cortisol. How are you going to do that? Well, there's specific things you can do, but essentially because cortisol is a stress hormone, we're going to need to reduce stress and manage our stress. I'm going to give you specific things. If you like more specific things, we'll talk about at the end of the video here what you can do next. But essentially, you've got to get your mind right every day. As you start your day, you want to start with your mind in the right place so that when stress happens, you don't overreact to it. Okay? Keep the cortisol steady because it will work for you to reduce your inflammation, or it will work against you to dump fat into your belly. Okay, so getting your mind straight. And the second part of cortisol control has to do with exercise and movement, right? So you want to make sure that your exercise is becoming part of your day, but you want to do it in a very specific way so that you don't increase cortisol unwillingly by the exercises that you're doing. Those two things together is what's going to really help get the cortisol under control. So that is step number one. Step number one, cortisol, because you cannot be successful in getting rid of your visceral belly fat if your cortisol is not in check. Okay, hey Amy, glad you could make it on. So again, at the end of the video, if that's not specific enough to you, we are ready to work with you to give you the absolute specifics tailored to your life and how it's going to work for you the best, okay? Number two, if this is going to be successful, if you're going to get rid of your belly fat, you've got to get rid of the inflammation in your body, okay? Reduce inflammation. Remember what inflammation is? It's your body's attack system for controlling and getting rid of problems, right? If you get a bee sting, or you slam your thumb in the door, or you sprain your ankle, or whatever, you have these little acute incidences of intense inflammation to solve a problem. But when your body is constantly, chronically, inflamed, you are going to have issues, right? Yeah, arthritis, Sydney says, absolutely. Okay, if you've got any of the itises, that's another cortisol issue. Okay, that's another problem probably with cortisol that causes all those itises. But arthritis is one of those things where when inflammation is out of control, we're not going to be able to get to the belly fat. And so what do? Well, inflammation really comes in two different ways to help your body with inflammation. We're going to come back to exercise. Exercising appropriately, the right way to reduce inflammation. Okay, and number two is going to be in nutrition, what you eat. What you eat has immense and direct correlation to the inflammation in your body. So you need to seek out and eat non-inflammatory or anti-inflammatory foods. Those things that support health and don't come after and attack your health from the inside out. As we take care of that, we're also going to be taking care of things like your high blood pressure. We're going to drop your triglycerides down, increase your insulin sensitivity, right? Like as we approach the anti-inflammatory state and attack it through intentional activity, it's going to start taking care of a host of other problems as well, which is super exciting, right? So we're going to have to get into nutrition. We're going to have to get after exercise. Of course, there's other things that will absolutely help with your inflammation in your body. We're going to have to get after, what are you drinking to stay hydrated? A lot of people love to go after these, Monster Power energy drinks, thinking that's going to take care of it for me. That's not the thing. If we're going to become anti-inflammatory, right? You got to drink the right things, eat the right things. We actually want to eat and drink at the right times, right? These are the ways that you balance, that you reduce inflammation. And so, if you're going to get rid of that belly fat, you're going to control your cortisol, and you're going to reduce the inflammation in your body. If you don't do those things, you're not going to be successful at getting rid of the visceral fat that's choking out your health. Okay, and the last thing, this is it, guys. Like I told you, this is pretty simple today. It's very straightforward. Okay, the last thing we have to do is balance the hormones. I've talked to you a lot about hormones and how they are the underlying key that's going on here, right? And so we've just got to start in one place, get your whole life balanced through a certain specific steps that are going to take care of this. As I mentioned before, in balancing our hormones, we're going to need to drop fat to start to get rid of the hormones that are being released by your visceral fat. Okay, how's this going to happen? How are we going to take care and get our hormones together? Again, it's the same kind of thing. We're going to come back to nutrition. We're going to come back to exercise. We're going to look at your sleep habits. What are you drinking and when? And as you get the hormones balanced, cortisol just being one of them, but we need to get your insulin under control. So we want to bring your insulin sensitivity back up. How are we going to do that? Through what you eat. Very specific foods that you eat cause insulin resistance in your body. We're going to look at exercise, when you exercise and how you exercise. Exercising at specific times, get your insulin under control and knocks out the insulin spikes that you get after you eat, therefore, increasing your insulin sensitivity, balancing out the hormones. This is what it all comes down to. So we're going to look at lifestyle, and we're going to make lifestyle changes. If you can do the things inside of your day to bring down these crazy insulin spikes and the overabundance of one hormone over another one. If your testosterone has dropped and your estrogen is up, if your insulin levels are too high, if your cortisol levels are too high or too low, like these are the things that really mess you up. And so coming into a balanced, healthy lifestyle will balance out those hormones. And this is exactly the thing that you need to be doing. Of course, the million-dollar question is, well, what is a healthy lifestyle? There's so many approaches to it. Everybody thinks they know. But with 66% of the population overweight or obese, most people don't know. And unfortunately, most of the information out there is very misleading because somebody's always got a stake in it, right? There's big corporations telling us one thing, A thing, B thing. And so when it really comes down to it, you want a plan that is solid, backed by science, proven to work. For us, we look to the Bible, and we look to draw our truths for our body out of what we read in there and the promises that we have from the Bible for health, and apply that stuff into our life. And then check, of course, double check, make sure that it's all science backed and that it works. And you can check that it works because your numbers will be going in the right place, your waistline will be going in the right direction, your energy will be coming up, everything will fall in the way that it's supposed to do. And of course, when all that happens, your visceral fat will be gone. So that's it, you guys. When it comes down to it, if you want to lose visceral fat, there's just 3 things that you need to do. Get your cortisol under control, which is one of your hormones, so it kind of overlaps with my point number 3. Point number 2, reduce inflammation by taking the steps to put out the fire inside your body. And step number 3 is to balance your hormones. Okay, so cortisol, inflammation, and hormones. Those 3 steps is what it takes to get the belly fat gone forever. Okay, really simple stuff. And now, just like anything else, as we've talked about before, when I was talking to you yesterday, I made this correlation to, is your body and is your health at a place of priority? And we talked about the fact that there's some things that are really hard to do and some things that are pretty easy to do that we count as difficult. I made the correlation to folding socks. Some of you came back and said, well, the problem is I can't find the other sock. Like, yeah, right? So we lose socks. That makes it difficult to fold a pair. But folding them socks itself really isn't difficult. And if we just go through some steps to put the socks together when you take them off, make sure they're into the dirty clothes at the same time, there's things you can do to make it pretty easy versus having your roof start leaking. And then when the roof starts leaking, that is a difficult situation. That is one where really you actually probably want to call on somebody to help you get it done. You don't want to wait till the roof is caving in, right? And then what are you going to do? Then you're having to rebuild the whole house. So the point of this thing is that, yes, your health is super important. And the question is whether or not you're ready to make it a priority. And as you go to make it the priority, will you take the steps necessary? If you need help, will you call somebody to help? Are you going to get up on the roof and take care of it all yourself? Or are you going to invest into it, into your health, get the support that you need to get it done right? This is the question that you have to ask yourself. And what are you going to do?